Hello and welcome to another episode of the Music Community Podcast. I'm Doc Bizzle, one of your co-hosts, and here with me today is Dan Drumstone and Random Girl Singing and our special guest, ThatViolinChick. Hey guys, how's it going?
Woo!
Hello.
Good.
Woo-hoo. We're excited today for several reasons, but one of the biggest ones obviously is our special guest, Hannah. Is it okay to call you Hannah on the podcast? Maybe we can edit that out.
Yes, it's fine.
That's okay. All right. But we're so glad that you're here today. We know that you in this last month or so have had some really cool, exciting news. For those of you who don't know, Hannah plays the violin and improvs with music on Twitch and does a whole lot of fun stuff too. We're going to let her tell you about that. But Hannah, tell us what's been going on in your world.
Working on an original, and of course my biggest news was getting partnered a couple of weeks ago.
Woo!
Yay!
Congrats!
Thank you.
That is so
I'm
exciting.
totally going to blast an air horn in the edit.
That is absolutely the biggest news.
Yeah.
That's some incredible news. We should also mention that one of our co-hosts here also got the news that he has made Twitch partner, Doc Bizzle. Congratulations to both
guys.
of you. Absolutely amazing.
Insert more air horn here.
Yes, it's definitely exciting. Hannah, how long had you been streaming and working towards partnership? I know for a lot of people, that's the big question mark is how soon should I expect it or how long should it take or whatever? Like, how long have you been working at it?
About 10 months
Wow.
since I started streaming, which really, honestly, I think is a very short amount of time, considering what a lot of streamers go through to get to partnered.
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah.
You guys probably have similar timelines.
I think so. I think Doc is
Very.
off me by a month or two. Something
Oh,
like
Yeah.
wow.
I got
month, I
started with a regular schedule at the end of March. So I guess that's 9.5. And just enough time to birth a baby. Somewhere. I'm right there, right there close to you. I had done some test streaming and stuff like January, February, but I didn't start a schedule till March. So, but still, yeah. I know for me, Hannah, and you could probably speak to this too, when you come in new, to go from 0 to even having 20 people there feels like such a huge deal that I was pretty quick to run off, and I was like, hey, I'm legit now. I'm going to apply for partner, And then it was, of course, a big letdown. They're like, yeah, you're not ready yet. You know what I'm saying? But even though that happened in, month 2 or 3 or whatever, it could feel from that point then like, oh my gosh, if I can't get it now when I'm so excited, then I won't ever be able to achieve it. At least that's how I felt at times. Tell us about your sort of the journey through that. How many times, if you don't mind telling us, how many times you applied and kind of what adjustments you made on your way towards partnership?
I got 4 rejections.
Wow.
I applied. My first time applying was in April, and then I didn't try again until September. I think it was September because I was hoping to do it before TwitchCon, but of course it wasn't quite there yet. I say 4 times, 3 times, and then the 4th time was the charm, I guess. They came back and denied me, and then they turned around and a week later and was like, actually,
Yeah.
so.
And you suspect that was part of the new automated process?
I wondered if it was because the rejection came the day that they rolled out the new feature, and so
The achievements.
I had wondered if maybe it was like it was not an automated response, but it was a form letter, and I kind of feel like maybe they were trying to kind of clean the slate with all because you had to know that they were going to get swamped,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's kind of what they were trying to do, and then they were reassessing.
Well, it is strange.
Oh, you mean like people last minute trying to apply for partnership
Yeah.
before the new program?
Oh,
Yeah.
That
that is
makes
an
sense.
interesting concept. But it is strange because the same thing happened to Doc.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, the very same day, his was overturned, which is amazing because that it sucks.
Yeah.
It really does.
I was crying with you and for you. I seriously was, Hannah, because we were watching. We've been my channel and Hannah's channel often are close in time frames when we're streaming during the day. And so a lot of times she would raid me, or I would raid her channel, or I would just be hanging in hers, or she'd be in mine. So our communities have kind of known each other. It's like being cousins or something on Twitch. And so when she started getting close, I mean, my whole community noticed. They're like, man, have you seen, Hannah's number? She's like really getting up there. So we started trying to get behind and push with her. We're just like, let's do everything we can to get her there. So, man, when I found out that you'd gotten that original decline, I was just like, I was in tears. I was like, there's no way they can't do this to her,
Well, and I didn't publicly state that I was going for partner for the most part. There were a few hints thrown around, mostly because I'd have community members asking, hey, are you going for partner? Blah, blah, blah. They'd see my numbers. They'd see how things were going, and they would ask. And so I didn't want to be like, yes, I'm pushing for partner, but I'd be like, we're working on it. We'll see. And, but at the same time, even not being really public about it, the day that the achievements rolled out, the very first person to message me asking if I got it was Seth Drums, which was completely unexpected because we'd never had a conversation about it before. You know what I mean? Like outside of just a little hint dropping and things like that in different streams. Yeah. And then Doc was in there. Doc was the second person in. So, it was amazing to see the community kind of jump in there and be like, we know you're there. Did you get it?
Yeah.
I mean, you say you got rejected 4 times. Doc, you also had gotten rejected, hadn't you, for partnership applications in the past on the old process before the automated process. Yeah. So for those of you who do not know what the old process was like of applying, do you guys want to describe what it's like to apply for partnership through the old process and what those rejections came back like? And when they came back, Hannah, were they different each time?
Yes.
Okay.
My very first rejection was it was not quite a form letter. It started out as one, but then towards the end she kind of got into, this is kind of what we'd like this is what we liked about your channel specifically. This is what we need to see specifically. She was incredibly helpful. I responded to her, asked her to clarify a few things. She came back and clarified them very, very succinctly. I was actually overall very happy with how that went. She gave me a specific goal. Like at the time she was saying, we want to we see your community is building. We want to see it continue building over a little bit longer period of time. And we want to see you get to 50 concurrents, which I was just short of that at the time. We want to see 50 concurrents, which was fine. But then, I guess over time they brought that up, and I know that it depends on what you're streaming, where your category is, all of that was different. So that was not a big deal to me at the time. And then I went into the summer slump.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. And then after school started back up, it was recovery time. And, but every letter was different. And I think the worst of them was the one that was 1000% a form letter. It was just a few sentences, basically a thanks, but no thanks. Keep trying. And then it went right into, if you want to be an affiliate, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, it is it used to be a very anxiety producing thing to apply for partnership because there are not specific things they're asking. Literally, you would navigate to a page and it would ask you to paste your social links in there. And then it would just have a blank box. And it just says, okay, tell us about your channel. Yeah. And that's it. So, like no guidance of, okay, so what do I say? So I can only imagine, and I only had to do it once, but I could, thankfully, because I can't imagine how I would have handled having to go back and then like, well, what do I write in this box now this time? Like what do I have to do? The expectations, it's just, I don't know. I commend you for continuing to be resilient and for continuing to push and advocate for your channel because obviously you deserved it.
I agree.
Thank you.
I actually had to ask every time I got responses, which I think was 2 or 3 times that I got rejected as well. It was from the beginning just a form letter. You're not there yet. Sorry, we're looking for the cream of the crop. You're not it. And I was like, okay, did you read my application? you know, because it had form stuff in there about we're looking for people with a positive community, you know, and I'm like, have you been to my channel ever? You know, like that's, if there's anything that I hear other people say, I don't go present myself as being Mr. Positive, but everywhere I go, other people are like, man, you got the most positive community, dude. And so I'm like, okay, y'all are saying you want positive. They would, you know, it had the stuff in there about, it's not really about the numbers. We're looking for something different. I'm like, who does a chat scat and who's a 43-year-old fart doing music on Twitch? That's different, you know? So for me, it was a little different. Like my responses were a little different. And I had to respond and say, okay, can you be more specific? And I think that was probably the hardest part for me. What you mentioned earlier, Hannah, about getting a response that we're looking for around 50 concurrents. Because I was running about 46 at the time. I'm like, no problem. In a couple weeks, you know, I'll be there. And so then I got to where I was running like 60, you know, 55 to 60 concurrents. Waited the 4 or 5 weeks or whatever and reapplied. And then it was like, well, no, we're looking for 80. I was like,
well, and that was shortly after they launched the affiliate program.
That was actually right before. The affiliate program.
Because I remember, Doc, I remember us talking about it, and the affiliate program had just launched, and we were thinking, well, maybe Twitch was, you know, since they can monetize on channels now that aren't quite up at where it used to be, they're going to re-raise the bar for partnership or something. Just to make it more elite or I'm not sure, but
as a business model, from a business perspective, it makes 100% sense to me. I totally get it. It didn't make it feel good, you know what I mean?
Of course.
But I totally get it. What I think would be helpful, and I don't know if anybody from Twitch listens to our podcast yet or not, I think what would be really helpful is when you have somebody that's close and you're telling them, if the response is, you know what, you're close, but we want to see you in another 3 to 4 weeks, which a couple of my responses were that way. They're like, check back with us in a month. There should be a reapply button attached to your account that
keeps
email.
You to the same standards.
That keeps you, well, at least keeps you with the same person that's reviewing your partnership, so that they can come out and go, yeah, man, you know what? You've done everything we laid out, and you've grown by 40% in the last 30 days.
And that's incredible.
So you're definitely still doing this, you know, that kind of thing.
I have a question. So the new way to do it, when you unlock that achievement, they did away with the old system, right? Like you don't.
Yes and no.
Is it different?
The apply button pops up as soon as you hit that 75 concurrent and you've met, you know, days streamed. You know, once you've hit all 3 of those check marks, I think it's 3. It's 3, right?
It's 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Once you hit all of those, the apply button automatically shows up. You click that and it takes you to the form letter that has always been used.
Really?
Yes.
So it's not just,
it's the exact
you
same
can be
form.
A partner now. Oh, so it's the same thing.
You have to fill everything out all over again. And I think one of the hardest things for people, and for me, I'm a research person. So it was good that I had researched it before I filled anything out. But, you know, it says, tell us about your channel at the bottom, like you said, the little box.
Yeah.
And to me, you know, to most people, that'd be like, oh, well, I streamed this, you know, and that's basically the gist of it. A lot of people, I think, don't know that this is like, you've got to market yourself to them. You've got to tell them why you would make a good partner. You got to tell them what benefit you give them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also like what you've done, like, you know, I had to explain to them, your achievements. And I told them in mine, I remember telling them that I did music and that I'd been doing it for a while, but it was only, you know, in the past couple months that I'd gotten into a groove and figuring out my audience, and I had started streaming earlier in the day. And I said, now that I understand the type of content that I'm enjoying creating and that my viewers are enjoying, and I've seen steady growth, you know, I feel confident that I'm prepared to represent Twitch, and I feel confident that my channel is going to continue to grow. You know, I basically told them I'd gone through and I even explained a little bit of my experimentation as far as scheduling and the types of content that I did. But, you know, I sort of had to outline that and just, you know, explain like, look, I've seen my numbers get better, and I've now tapped into what I think I'm doing best. And I'm going to continue to do that now. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Think of it as a resume. Anybody that's considering applying anytime soon, think of it as a resume, or even like your 2-minute elevator speech. Like if you're stuck in an elevator with a Twitch executive and you've only got 2 minutes, what would you want them to absolutely know about you to consider you for partnership, have that ready even before you hit the achievement. Go ahead and start working on that. Have some friends look at it. Say, hey, am I highlighting what really stands out about my channel in this? Could you help me? Get some input.
Revise.
Bingo.
What did you guys say in yours?
What did I say in mine or him?
Yeah.
Both of you.
You, Hannah, you go.
Yeah, you're our guest.
To me, he's down here. I basically outlined, I gave the basic gist of what I do as a streamer, what I stream, when I stream. I tried to stay away from concurrence because they're going to look at that anyway, so I don't need to get into that. But I talked about from a financial standpoint. This is how much I tend to generate. With the additional, I hate to say prestige that comes with being partnered, but you know what I mean. That extra push, elevation. This financial standpoint, could grow this much, and so I mean, it's a business, and so I brought in the financial standpoint of it. I brought in, the viewers that can come over. Specific streamers that I've networked that I'm in a community with. It was good to mention the streamers that are already partnered that have mentored me, because I was lucky enough to have several streamers that were mentoring me and kind of being like, they were actually helping me with my application, with the revising, with do's and don'ts, etiquette, for the application process. And so it was like, it's not a bad thing to mention people that have mentored you as long as you have their permission, and say, I'm working with this person. That I'm in this community, like, the Twitch Stars community. You basically mention the community support that you have.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because I feel like they probably do look at that. They want you to be kind of interlaced with a good system.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Not just flying solo.
Yeah.
Got a backing.
That's the only stats that I tried to make sure that I covered in mine were ones that I know they can't pull up. Like, I have this many active people in my Discord community. Twitter, you can check Twitter. They can check Twitter to see the stats, but I'm, have an active
Discord's
thing going on in Twitter. Tried to mention those things, as well as any of the involvement in, like, the Quest for the Concert charity event, Saving Music Live, the fact that we just launched that, I did my application right on the heels of being a part of helping get that going and streaming there as well. So anything that was community related, like you're talking about, Hannah, are the things that I really tried to highlight. I did do one thing, and I want to mention this to everybody. In my response from them, my original decline, when I got denied to begin with, what they mentioned was that they had seen that I had completed the Path to Partner achievement. However, in evaluating my channel, looking at stats only, they saw there was a recent growth in viewership due to a number of large hosts. Was what they commented. Now, I'm saying this to let you know that if you're making a push for partner and you're currently only running 15 concurrents in your channel, don't think that one massive host that will put your monthly average over 75 is going to automatically get you partnership. It won't. In fact, they almost completely denied mine for the same reason. I did respond to this email, and because in my application, I actually mentioned I had gotten one massive 1,600 people host, right? That just went boop, like
Thank you,
off
Loser
the charts.
Fruit.
From Loser Fruit. Thank you. Yes,
Thank
for
you,
the raid.
Loser Fruit. She's amazing to the music community. Yeah.
And I'm so glad. Like, I would not ever wish to not get a host like that. But because they saw that spike, I had even gone ahead and mentioned it in the application, and I brought it back up in my response. And I said, I do understand that, but if you will look closer at the stats, you'll see even in that particular stream, I was running over 75 people before that host came in.
Yep.
So they looked at that. They looked a little farther, I think, into my application and saw what's going on in the community. And then responded and said, the response, like, I can read it to you. This is what made me cry. on second thought, upon further review, actually is what it says. Upon further review, thank you for applying to the partner program. And then I got another response, behind that. Sorry for the original error, but we're excited to bring you in. So it wasn't a matter of if you complain and kick and scream enough, they'll give it to you. It's not that. They are going to look deeper, but don't think that one massive host is going to do it. You are going to have to maintain that average over a 30-day period, not just by what a calculator says, but on a per stream basis. They want to see a level line, not a big spike.
Yeah, and those hosts, you're right, they can work against you. I don't know, Dan, you're really big into the Destiny community, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when K-Magic was going up for partnership and they kept declining him? And it was because of hosts. And he's the organizer of Guardian Con. And it was because of all the hosts from larger Destiny streamers.
Yeah, from like Goth and Broman.
From King Cathalion and
he has, it's kind of the same thing with Doc. He would have concurrent viewers too, but you get a 3,000 person host from Goth, and it's like, they're probably like, what is happening here? But
so that's great. That's really great.
It's a good
advice.
example, yeah.
And it's really great advice that you all are sharing with these folks. And I really especially want to mention that I feel as though sometimes in the music and the creative community, these partnerships can sometimes seem like they happen overnight for people. Folks that already had existing communities and then come leverage those communities over on Twitch, or folks that just that kind of show up and then due to some exposure or the existing community that we have in the viewer pool, their numbers just raise immediately. And of course, because they're talented people too. But sometimes people can get partnered really, really quickly, especially among our creative kin. And Doc and Hannah, you both really, I feel like you really highlighted that steady growth. Both of you guys were really, really steady. I remember when both of you guys had 20 viewers. I remember when both of you guys had 50 viewers. I remember that, and I remember that every time I looked, there were more and more and more and more, and that is, it just goes to show that if you play to your strengths and if you keep showing up, don't get discouraged if it's not instant success. We see so many questions in the music community Discord about, what's the best thing to do, or what might people like, or what should I be doing? And some of these questions are coming from folks who have been streaming a month and are discouraged because they, quote, only have, between 10 and 20 viewers. And, they might not realize that's very good.
Yeah.
That's very good. And we kind of have an advantage being a unique type of content on Twitch. And so, just because you see other musicians that have more than you, just keep showing up and playing to your strengths. Yeah. And I also wanted to ask you all about kind of your evolution of when you decided that you wanted to get more serious, things like having a schedule, etc. What were some things that you felt were vital to helping you grow more regularly? Was having a schedule important, or is there anything else?
Schedule, for sure. I've actually gotten compliments from people on how regularly I'm streaming, because to me, it's kind of like, people come and hang out because they want to be there. They want to see, they want to hear. And it's kind of like, your favorite TV show. If it just decided whenever it wanted to air, then it would not have the fan base that it does. You know what I mean? And so I feel like having that schedule is extremely important, possibly the most important thing.
People and I completely disagree in my case, because I've never ever had one. I've never ever had one,
But people know when to generally expect you.
Sometimes.
Well, I think I do. I wake up and there you are with your coffee.
I really did want to ask you both all of you about schedule, because I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of Elvin. She plays the harp on Twitch, and she's a friend of mine. And I haven't responded to her yet. We were just talking before the podcast started recording, and she expressed to me that she was feeling a little bit like trying to keep such a strict schedule was draining her and was sort of tough. Like taking away from her creative juices. And she felt like, she wasn't even producing like the best content because, you know, even though she's showing up and putting the work in, you know, as a creative and as a musician, and you have to enjoy what you do and you have to feel inspired to do it. Sometimes you can't schedule that, but I personally find it hard to keep a balance of that. So she's asking me, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm the best person to tell you. I generally aim to do, and I don't give times. I just give like AM or PM frame reference on particular days. And I just hope that I can do it. And I know that's probably not the best approach for everybody, but how soon into streaming did you start a schedule?
Well, I've got some thoughts on it. I'd love to hear what Dan's thoughts are, because I know not only is he a working musician, but he's a dad with a lot of kids and stuff like that. Dan, how does scheduling play in for you? Like everything Stephanie's asking, random girl.
Everybody knows I'm Stephanie's school.
How does that affect your schedule and streaming?
I revolve around a schedule that probably comes down to a 15-minute increment of being on or off, if that makes sense. Like, I plan out pretty much my week ahead. Like, and if a day gets off track or like a kid gets sick, it's just like
Same
crazy.
Same here.
But for me, the schedule, as soon as I started streaming, I had a schedule up, and I start right at that time that I say I'm going to be there. People know, you know, if I change it, I give people a heads up. I keep the same days that I stream and generally the same times. I've experimented a little bit with different times just to see, you know, as far as what'll change. But I start teaching students, you know, at a certain time of day. So I have to be done with a stream, go home and get prettier because I'm all smelly and gross. And then come back to teach, and, you know, and with the kids and the family, you know, I can't say, oh, I'll stream maybe on Saturday or Sunday. And my wife, she's working too. You know, she has her job and she's a teacher. So everyone knows how much teachers work outside of work, you know? Yeah. So I can't say, oh, it's the weekend, you're going to be home. So I'm going to go stream all weekend, you know, because she's got a million things that she's got to do also, plus see the family. So to me, scheduling and carving out that time for both myself and my wife, like I think that's what's made it work so far. If I was very sporadic with it, not so much viewers, but just personal life. To me, she knows when I'm going to go, and we make time around that to coexist together. Because at first, when you stream, you're adding another job. If you're taking it serious, it's like taking on a second job or a third job for some people. Yep. So it can really take a toll on, you know, the friends that you see or family members. So to me, schedule has been huge. I don't think I'd be doing it if I wasn't so particular with the times and the days.
Do you announce it weekly, or is it standing days for you?
Sunday night, that's when I put it up. I do every week, and then I put it in my Discord and on Twitter. I'll change the banner in my Twitter to have the schedule for the week. And most of the time it stays the same. But if I have, you know, a session or if a performance hops up or something, I'll adjust to that. But I try to keep it the same days every day.
That's great advice. That's another alternative. That's awesome.
I think for me, coming from, it was more from a philosophical, maybe not philosophical, but just thinking through, what am I actually doing? You know, when I made the change from, hey, I want to play around with this and play music for people on the internet, and decided that I wanted to have a successful Twitch channel, I realized what that meant was building a community. And there's two levels to that. There's building and establishing community and loyalty and connection with people, and then there's maintaining that. And you can do completely different things to build loyalty and trust with people and maintain it. In order to build that trust and to develop that initial core group of people, it meant that I needed to try to be consistent. You know, I needed to show up when I knew they could show up. If they were the first group that was coming, you know, was when I was streaming in the mornings. When I decided to set somewhat of a regular schedule, shooting for, Monday, Wednesday, Friday around 10 a.m., I knew that they were all available. So it was going to afford me the opportunity to spend more time with them, get to know them better, and develop a strength of our relationships.
Yeah.
From that, to then maintain that sort of community relationship feel, I could do things at other times, and if they're available, they would show up. Oh, hey, you're playing Rocket League today. Hey, what's going on, Doc? Because we had the relationship already. So for me, it's changed a little. Like, to begin with, I was just testing it, and then I was real strict on, like, here's the days so I can build a core community. Now I try to do it about 80% schedule and 20% if I got an extra day or some extra time, and I may not do music, I may do video games, I may do something else, but you guys can count on me to be available during these times, unless something comes up. Obviously, if a kid's sick or something, then that changes, Yeah. But you can count on at least a couple times a week that I'm going to be there, and then the rest of the week I'm going to just kind of have fun with it, and we'll go meet some new people maybe that haven't been to the channel yet. That's my thoughts on it.
Well, I think the community is also a huge point, and that's a good point, Doc, because one thing that I've noticed is, and it takes a while to build a community, and I think sometimes people get discouraged because the community doesn't just immediately happen. But it's got to be an effort, even more on the streamer's part than on the chatter's part. And one thing that I noticed is, like with Steph, talking about random girl.
It's okay.
Talking about, doing different times, especially recently. I know you've been doing evening streams as well as morning streams. But the thing is that your community has been built to the point where I've seen you go live at, dinner time, my time or whatever, or even later, 9:00 at night for me. Yeah. People get in there. You'll get these viewers. They'll see that you're online and be like, oh my God. And they'll pack in there to see you. There was one time where I went ahead and just did an impromptu stream just because I felt like streaming, and it was not one of my stream days, and nobody was expecting me to stream. But I had, just as many people come in as on a normal day. Come in because they saw that I was online. And I think that is just that community base. But they know your schedule, but at the same time, you've built that community, like Doc said, to where even if you're not on your schedule, or I've canceled once for a family emergency and canceled another time for being sick. And instead, like they all came in and was, in Discord, are you okay? What can we do? Can we, it didn't make anybody upset that I didn't stream that day, but it was one of those things where it was not a normal thing for me.
Yeah. I honestly have been struggling pretty hard because I know that for my own life balance, especially with so many things going on with children, and they're in school. And I mean, Hannah has 7 children in her home, so talk about organizing your time, to go dick around on the internet. You know what I mean? Sorry to put it that way, but in the priorities, like, certain things have to take priority. I've been struggling a lot because I feel accountable to these folks, and Doc, your point about, maintaining trust once you've built it. For me, I didn't get those numbers until I started streaming in the morning, and my European viewers are who made me a partner. So even though evenings typically lately work a lot better for me, like for my mental health and for my family, and for all of that kind of stuff, like I feel accountable to them, and I love my morning crowd, and I don't want to let them down, and I also miss them. I want to see those names, and it hurts my heart to know that they're continuing to support me with a subscription, or by following my channel and following my journey, and then I never get to see them in the chat, or they never get to catch me live. And so I have been struggling pretty hard with that, trying to find the right balance, and there's certain things that I know that I'm going to have to adjust, but I'm aiming to try to select days, keep it in the selecting days and selecting time frames, and making it pretty general. But at the same time, it does seem like a very good idea to do what Dan's doing, and announce it every week, because things do come up and change, obligations at school or obligations, with family and stuff. So it is really interesting, and it's a lot to think about. So I really appreciate you guys all sharing your experiences.
I think one of the healthiest and coolest things that I've been able to be a part of, that's helped with some of that because of scheduling stuff, is I realized at a certain point, there was me and two other streamers that were all streaming at different times of the day, but we all seemed to show up in each other's streams and just developed a really good friendship. And that is Seth Drums TV and Pint Size Fun. Mm-hmm. Pint was typically in the evening. Seth was like in the, early evening, late afternoon, and I was usually in the mornings. But we did start noticing that we had a lot of crossover with people that would be in my channel and then Seth's, or in Seth's and then Pint's. And so there was a bit of shared community there that was happening on its own. And we decided to become intentional with that. Like, look, we're all growing our individual channels and communities, but we also have this shared community that's growing, that like the same inside jokes from my channel, you'd see somebody drop it on Pint while she was streaming later that evening, and
she'd probably get it. Huh?
And she did. Oh yeah, she would, because it was just these little threads of sort of our relationship bringing three communities together. So we formalized that. We call it the Nakama Community.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Because, Nakama is the Japanese term for a friend who is so close that you consider them to be family, right? It's like that family friend that's at everything, Yeah. So we started a Discord for it, invited some of our core group to begin with to it, and then now we've gone kind of open invitation. Like, if you're part of our shared community, we want you to be a part of this as well, in addition to our individual ones. Now, here's the benefit to us. It's not just a selfish thing, but the benefit is I don't always have to be the one now to nurture that. Yeah. It's not all resting just on me. There's me and there's Seth and there's Pint that are involved in that ongoing conversation, and it's stronger together. You know what I'm saying?
And those communities get the satisfaction of, if you have to take a little time off, they still get to mingle among themselves in another venue, because you've kind of provided them that cross pollination. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So shameless plug for Nakama. Go Nakama!
That's fun. So Hannah, how do you keep your life in balance? Is streaming your only form of bringing an income at this point? And when did you kind of how did you tailor your schedule and and streaming to fit into a life of having 7 children in the home, and all of that craziness?
7.
I'm certifiably insane. Really,
Hannah,
though,
you're gonna have a huge room in heaven someday with like the biggest TV, huge couch.
Oh man, honestly, my stream setup takes up almost a good third of my bedroom. It's been slowly impinging on the rest of the room. It's getting bigger and bigger, but okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I started streaming in February, and I left my daytime job, my full-time daytime job, at the end of March. Wow. Again, I know that that's not a norm for Twitch streamers by any means, and so I'm eternally grateful to have been able to do that. But I'm also able to do that because, of course, my husband works full-time, and so that really balances everything. But it was his idea to even stream in the first place. I had no idea it even existed till he was like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And there I see Chase Eagleson, and then he switches over and there's random girl singing, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So, trying to find that balance. Part of leaving my job was for my own mental health, because it was not the kind of job that supports mental health to begin with, and then add the stress of streaming and my family and everything else on top of that. And it even though it was not a very long time frame, 2 months, by the time I got towards the end of that 2 months, my mental health was, I was just stressed to the max. My anxiety was peaked. And I was losing it. And so my husband was like, just leave that job. We can handle things, and go do what you love. Because he was a firm believer. He said, you have this talent. You're sharing it with people. You are having so much fun. You're basically living the dream you always thought you could not have.
Yeah.
And so he stepped up and told me, do this. We'll make it work.
That's awesome.
He's an incredible guy, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I did well.
It's like getting me teared up listening to this.
I know. Like, can you hear the lump in my throat?
Yeah, it's amazing.
But finding, even then, there's still that balance with my kids, and that's primarily, leaving my day job enabled me to do day streams.
Yep.
And so now I stream during the day because they're in school. All of them are in school.
That's awesome.
So when they're on break, it's a little bit harder. And I've actually been known to say, hey guys, we're going to do an evening stream. And that way I can get, the younger ones in bed, and then the older ones can, they're self-sufficient. They're teenagers. They don't want to be around me anyways, and, hanging out, whatever. But, that's been my balance. Stream when most of the time when they're not here, they're at school. And, my community is forgiving if I have to adjust, for kids being homesick or whatever. And so doing it that way hasn't been too much of a juggle. It's just mainly like I've got my 2 set days off that I don't stream. Those are my days to do appointments, doctor's appointments, and anything, whatever else that they need to have done. Yeah. Those are my days to do it. So it just took a little experimenting, can I fit in a morning appointment here? Is that pushing it, and if I tell my community, hey, I've got this appointment, I had to do it this day, I'll be an hour late or whatever. And they're like, cool. We'll see you when you get back. You
communicate with them. So, I mean, as long as they know, I guess it's
very, very communicative. Whatever.
Well, hats off to Zician. Is that how he pronounces his name?
Zician, yeah.
Zician. Okay, so if you see Zician in the chat, guys, make sure you give him a pat on the back and a big thumbs up.
He's the real MVP.
That's awesome.
That's incredible. Yeah, the support of family and supportive spouses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's so huge. Funny. Our stories are very parallel in many ways. Very parallel in many ways. Has streaming, what kind of impact has streaming had on your overall mental health and your overall self-perception?
It has done wonders. It really has. Even whenever I was dealing with the partnership rejections, or the slumps where the numbers were, the people were not quite there as much as I had come to expect, when people got busy, and it seemed like you try not to look at numbers. Well, I guess you have to in a way, but it's like one of those things where you can't take it personally. And so even though through that kind of thing where people get busy, people have lives, trying to, it doesn't matter who you are. It gets disappointing sometimes, and you can get down about it and get stressed out about it. And I went through all that, and at the same time, doing the music thing, working on writing my own works.
It's amazing.
It has been very empowering for me. Going to TwitchCon was absolutely one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. Getting to meet some of my own streaming idols. Like Random Girl. And no, seriously, you're one of the first ones I followed, and watched. And, but the whole experience, being on the stage, having been selected to be on the stage, was absolutely mind blowing to me. I totally didn't expect to get that email.
She was in the talent show, by the way. She was one of the musicians that was featured in the talent show.
A huge theater. It was gorgeous. It was so cool.
It was amazing. And I think for me, one of the most flooring experiences was having people come up to me and recognize me and be like, "Hey, you're that violin chick. Oh my God, can I get a hug? Or can I take a picture with you or whatever?" And there was like when I was warming up for the talent show, there was somebody who was standing there, and I didn't realize they were there. And then my husband kind of nudged me and was like, she's been waiting to talk to you. She really wants to meet you. And I turned around and she's just standing there like this, like,
Oh, man.
And I mean, just to get that kind of reaction from people is just, it's weird to me. That's the only way I can think of to say. It's just weird to me because, I don't see myself as anything other than I'm just Hannah.
You're that violin chick.
Yeah, I play violin and I have fun, but to have people... Actually, I came back from TwitchCon and somebody recognized me in my hometown. I was like, hey, you! And I was just like, oh my God, it's 3:00 in the morning. Like, I came here for a drink and some snacks.
I didn't know I was a celebrity now.
And obviously I don't expect that to happen, much at all or ever. But it's a very surreal experience to have that happen. And I know RGS, you had mentioned that too.
Recently.
It was
very surreal.
It's just like, me,
Yeah.
And so I think that's been one of my bigger adjustments was dealing with not letting these people down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what
do you ever?
That's what I love. I absolutely love about all of you that I've noticed in your channels. You genuinely enjoy just doing what you do. It's one of the first things I noticed about Dan, about his channel. And I think if I had to sum it up, even to give more advice to other streamers, it'd be two things. Love what you do and love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Like, if there's 8 people there, you know what? Those people are taking time out of their day to hang out in your channel and watch you do what you love doing. Love the people that are there. If you love the people that are there, more people are going to want that love. They're going to want to hang out with you. And Dan, you do a great job, man, of including people that you see, whether you know them from Destiny or from the music community. Dan always does a good job at that too. That's why I love his channel. That's why I love all y'all's channels for that matter. But
they're my best friends.
So true.
They're like my new best friends. You got to treat them like that because think of your real life friends. Are they going to come over and hang out as much as the people that come into your chat do? I think that is what is the most valuable thing to me. It's not, if they're cheering or donating, but their time spending with me, that is the most important thing. And it is a friendship. Like, you develop relationships with these people.
Yeah, because they're not just consuming your art.
Yeah.
They're not just consuming your art. They're your, you're their person. You're their broadcaster. Like, it's not just I'll put out a record and they'll listen to this and it sounds good and they'll groove to it. It's it's so much more than that.
Yeah. It's very special. I've been recognized here, like grocery shopping or something, not from Twitch, but like with bands and stuff. And I remember the first time it happened, it was like creepy. I'm like, what do you mean you know who I am? And they're like, yo, I saw you play at the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, is this like a murderer? Like it was weird.
The Dan, I'm not going to get in that van.
Yeah. But
it's weird. At the airport, somebody didn't recognize me, but they saw me wearing Twitch merch on the way back from TwitchCon. And they said, are you a Twitch streamer? I said, yes. And they said, what's your username? And I told them, they said, oh, I've heard of you. I said, oh, really? They're like, yeah. I said, what have you heard? And they said, I just heard your name and that you had colored hair. And that was all that they knew. So it's a very bizarre little network. Do you guys find that it, with that kind of comes this feeling that maybe you need to adjust what you say, filter yourself, be a better example or anything like that?
Definitely.
As a dad, I kind of already am there. It's just who I am. A lot of people call me the Twitch dad, because I'm just kind of already there. I heard something a long time ago that really sobered me when I had a kid. It was this statement that you teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are. And knowing that I've had a little boy, had a baby boy, that scared the mess out of me. So I was like, I can tell him all the right things I want him to believe and do in life, But at the end of the day, he's gonna become like me and his mom. I mean, he just is. And so I don't judge anybody for their behavior, but I was kind of already there. Sorry, I won't get preachy. I was just sort of already there even before I got on Twitch. Like, I want to be a positive person, an encouraging person, you know, and not be vulgar and stuff like that. And that's just kind of who I am. But it doesn't make me judge anybody else who isn't that way either, you know? So
my stream has kind of evolved in a way because of that. Because, I mean, it's rated mature, you know, expect the unexpected. You know, I have a potty mouth. I'm sorry, but I do.
Yes, me too. I am very vulgar, Hannah.
but it's funny because it kind of evolved into this, you know, when, especially with the daytime streams, more and more people were like, "Hey, I'm listening to you at work," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want anybody to get in trouble. So while I didn't completely censor myself, I've definitely brought down, you know, how many, you know, swear words I'm using. I'm being a little bit more careful because, you know, these people, you know, I don't want them to get in trouble for listening to me, and then they won't, you know, don't want to come back or be part of the community. You know, that'd leave a bad taste in their mouth. You know, and at the same time, then I mentioned this on a stream a few days ago, but I'm a photographer too, very part-time, but I was doing a session for a family, and I've known them for years. And she mentioned that she had told her son, her 13-year-old son, that why I was so busy. And she mentioned Twitch, and he freaked out and was like, "Oh my God." And he was like, "Who is she?" And she said, "ThatViolinChick." He goes, "Oh my God, my teacher plays her when we're in class." And I'm like,
"Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. No."
That's insane.
And the funny thing is he's not in orchestra. So whoever this teacher is, bless their heart, they're not just listening to your class.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Could be detention. It could be the detention teacher.
That's so funny. That's so crazy.
And you know, and it was just like a moment where it's like, let me grab my jaw off the floor. You know, some teacher somewhere in the state is playing me to her students. Now I really got to up the ante on watching.
It's difficult because, like, on one hand, I relate to you completely because when I started doing daytime streams, got the same thing. Like you people, I'm playing you in the lobby of the office that I work in the hospital or whatever. Thank goodness most of my audience doesn't even speak English, probably, you know, or that the F word isn't even considered a swear for them there. You know, I don't say
think
bloody.
That's a global word,
so,
though, Steph.
yeah. But you know, it's on one hand, there's so much more to my identity than being a mother. You know what I mean? I was in the military for so long that swearing was just so, you know what I mean? And my sense of humor and it just goes there. And, you know, and then on the other hand, there is a valid point to be said from streamers. I think like JP or maybe it's Gathalion. I forget which one, but you know, has said that they approach their stream as if, you know, they are a television show that could be played in a lobby of a hospital or a hotel room or whatever. And that's why they don't do that. So it is really difficult. I've noticed lately that in the daytimes, I'm really cleaning it up. And if I do get a request for a song that has a swear word in it or something, I'll usually give fair warning. And I'll just say, hey, the next song that I'm going to do has some profanity in it. If it's not safe for work, or you have children around, come back in a few minutes. Right. You know, so I do that during the day. At nighttime, it's definitely a different story. Yeah, at nighttime, it's definitely like, you know, kind of mama's going to let loose and, you know, we're just going to go joke around. But at the same time, we as broadcasters really do have to figure out the right way to communicate that and to set expectations. And for me, I'm not sure if I want to rate my stream mature or if I want to maybe put that in the rules. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or if I want to have some streams that I label as being family or kid friendly and some streams that, you know, are like adult night. You know, I don't know what to, I don't really know how to approach it.
That makes sense. Right. By the way, Steph, your celebration with me the other night when I came in your channel, I want a highlight of that. I won't put it anywhere on the internet if you don't want me to. I have never laughed so hard in my life and smiled so big at somebody celebrating. Stephanie got up from her chair, started shaking her hips and dancing, and I was like, oh my gosh.
And I wasn't lying, Doc. I really did have a whole bottle of bubbly before you popped in.
I believed you. It only took a moment for me to go, she really has drank that whole bottle.
Over the course of like 4 hours. Let's put come on, I'm not in college anymore. But it was a blast. You came over and I got to congratulate you, right there in front of everybody and celebrate with you. So yeah, we put on some Madonna Holiday. And just
perfect.
Got down. It was a pleasure to do it. I'm so happy for you.
It was so cool. So I was glad you didn't have the the G-rated filter on, because it allowed you to just have a good time, and it made my day. So.
It's sometimes it makes people laugh because we all as humans have those human moments, and to show that and to have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
People can relate to that, and it kind of, nobody's perfect, in that kind of way. And I think it's when people rely on that too much or use it as a shtick, where it can become a little bit destructive,
Yeah.
Well, Hannah, the music nerd in me is curious about your abilities and when you started playing violin and all that. Like, when did you get into music?
I decided I wanted to play when I was probably 8-ish, and then I started playing when I was 9.
Is that your first instrument?
Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
It was a funny moment, actually, because it was back in the PBS days.
Oh, yeah.
And totally aging myself right now. But the Boston Pops Orchestra was playing, and I was just glued to the TV screen. I remember all of it. And I wanted to emulate them, so I went into my room and grabbed a Dr. Seuss book and a wooden ruler. And I went back out there, and I was playing along with them, and they were doing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Nice.
And so I was like, dun, 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 with my little ruler. As a little 8-year-old, it was somewhere between 8 and 9. And I told my parents that I wanted to play violin, and every parent, when a kid tells them they want to do something, it's like, do you really want to do it, or is this just a phase? Are you going to stick with it? So they made me beg and beg and beg for a while, and all of a sudden, Christmas morning, I opened up a violin.
Oh,
and it was a little $75 pawn shop violin, and I was through the roof thrilled. Started classical lessons. I actually took both classical and fiddle training.
Wow. I didn't know there was a difference.
Yeah. It's a form difference and a style difference. I've actually had people ask me, what's the difference between a violin and a fiddle? And whatever word you want to use. I prefer violin. But I also started classically trained. If you started out in the fiddle world, you'd probably want to call it a fiddle.
Yeah.
But there's a form difference.
Violin kind of goes, and fiddle goes, so if that helps him.
Right, exactly.
It's under pressure and Vanilla Ice.
They make sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hannah. Forgive me.
No, you're fine. Where were we with that? I took
you took both.
I took both forms. I started out classically training. Actually, Suzuki method, if anybody knows what that is.
Yep.
That's like it's a lot of like singing and listening, right? A lot of by ear kind of stuff.
Yes, they give you the CD. Well, actually, back then it was a cassette tape. But don't judge me.
What's that?
But you got a tape with all the songs from the songbook on it, and the idea was to train yourself to hear it and read it. Well, funny story. I was learning to read the music a little bit slower than what she would have expected, but I was playing the songs just fine, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. My mom says, and I don't remember this part, I probably blocked it out because I was doing a no-no, but what I was doing was I was memorizing it from the cassette tape.
Yeah.
And not reading the music. And once my teacher realized what I was doing, she called me out for it and took away my cassette tapes.
Oh, snap.
So, but that was the time when she was like, she told my mom, she's got she's got perfect pitch. She is listening to these and hearing the pitches and matching them perfectly almost instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to watch her.
Yeah, on a fretless instrument.
I've been a rebel
too.
always. Yeah. And my mom says that I took to it like a duck takes to water. To me, I don't remember before I played violin. It's just always been there.
Wow.
You know, so I took guitar lessons for a little while, but it just wasn't quite the same for me.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I have a lot of I'm sure the violinists and the drummers of the world all go through the same struggle of, I really want to do this. Are you sure? Are you really sure? Because once I put that thing in your hands, oh my God.
You're going to be dedicated for at least a year.
Yeah. I tell people, parents, I'm like, drummers are a parent's worst nightmare. You know, like when your kid's like, I want to play the drums, you just hear, I could just picture it. Like, oh no.
You can hear the eyes roll in the back of their head. Like, no.
You know what's funny about that though? My 6-year-old daughter told me she wants to play drums, and I'm like, heck yeah, let's do
I
this.
know. Yes, we have a family drummer now. Bam.
Perfect.
That's useful.
I'm like, yeah. Now, if my boys were to ask, I probably would do the eye roll. But my daughter, I'm like, yeah, let's do this.
I love it.
My parents were really cool. We had a basement, so my dad's very sensitive to sound. He can hear, I swear to God, like a cow take a crap like 50 miles away.
What does that sound like?
Sounds like my dad.
I can't hear it, but when I said I wanted to get a drum set, they were all about it. But I would always come home and practice after school, and just like for hours, like 3-4 hours a night. And my dad would just say, are you going to practice? And I'd go, yeah. And he'd go, okay. And then I'd hear him go out, and he'd go for a long walk in the woods and then come back, you know. And I could hear him when he would come back in, and I'd hear the door shut, and I'm like,
maybe it's time to be done
respectful.
now.
Yeah.
That unspoken agreement.
Yeah.
Beginning instruments in general.
Yeah. Or you know, it's kind of unfortunate. Folks that are in tight living quarters or apartment situations. There is a streamer recently from Romania who messaged me, and she was really excited when to talk about singing. She played games on Twitch, and she had a pretty established community, but she had done, I think, something similar to The Voice in Romania, and she loves singing. She played guitar, and she was considering taking the plunge to buy a Audio-Technica, you know, AT2020, like a nicer mic than the headset she had. And you know, she messaged me when she did it. A couple months later, she said, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to finally sing." And so I hyped it up, and I brought some people over for her first stream. And the first song, she's projecting and she's sounding beautiful, and you can see that it just feels so good. And you hear,
Oh no.
And her, like, it was just so sad to see her spirit broken like that. And she just seemed so embarrassed and so bummed out. And, you know, everybody's like, can't you just try to stream like during the day? And, you know, she's like, well, I have to work. I have to pay my rent too. You know, I have things that I have to do. I literally can only do this when I can do it. And I don't know. It's a shame.
Yeah. I remember, to bring up Seth again, when he started, I remember he had to soundproof his room, and his neighbor, like, I remember he's like, well, my neighbors are complaining and da-da-da. And I'm like, how far are they? And he's like, well, I'll take a picture. And he sent me a picture. They are like across the street, like so far away, but they were putting up such a stink. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. And, you know, you want to do what you want to do, you know, and if it's loud, especially singing, if you're in an apartment, or violin can be really loud too, you know? So it's like... It
lives in a whole nother spectrum of like the voice, of like the sound, you know, like it's just right there.
Exactly.
I'm fortunate in that my Viper's a full electric violin. So, it, you know, somebody standing outside of the stream would barely hear anything. That's how I was able to beat that. But you can't exactly do that with drums.
Yeah. You read, well, they have electronic drums, but Hannah, you read my mind. I was going to ask you about the electronic or the electric violin. When did that come into play? Was that pre-stream or post-stream?
The Viper we got before I started. It was Zesian's gift to me to kind of jumpstart things, because
I love him. I'm just saying that right now.
Can we just say this guy's amazing?
Here, let me tug on your heartstrings a little bit further with him. We have risen to the top of some very hard times back when our kids were younger. And a few years ago, whenever I was becoming an adult, I saved up and got myself a Fender FV4 electric violin. Excuse me. It was beautiful. It was white. It was not anything compared to the standards of today's violins, but it was great. And I bought that, and that's what I played. I played in a rock band or a few rock bands here and there.
Cool.
Loved the thing. We got married. We fell on some hard times, and we ended up selling it to pay a bill. And I mean, like, I made him take it to the person that was buying it because I couldn't emotionally do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so when he came back home, you know, you guys understand the attachment you get to things like that. And so he came home to me in tears. I was in tears, not him. But he came home and he was like, you know, someday we'll get you another violin. And I was like, you know, I didn't see at the time. I was like, it's not going to be possible. It's over.
Yeah.
And that kind of started my sabbatical when I stopped playing for a while. But then enter Twitch, and he's like, here's a Viper. You know, like he went over violins. He went over violins with me, and we looked at reviews and we watched videos, and he was like, you know, someday this would be really cool. You know, if you could have any of these, which ones do you think you'd buy? And totally caught me off guard because he was so nonchalant about it. And then one day he was like, I'm on my way. I got to take a road trip, like an hour and a half. I got to do it for work. I'll be back.
For work.
Came back, and here's his Viper. And then he was like, now you have no reason not to start streaming. So actually, when I started streaming, I was basically reacquainting with my instrument in general because I hadn't played in 8 years.
Hannah, you're in my journeys are so similar. I hadn't played in 9 years. My husband introduced me to Twitch, and my husband pushed me to do all this stuff too. And I feel like we both have just gotten an incredible amount of, you know, support, and it's a life-changing thing. And it's, man, that makes me want to cry. I can't even imagine what it must have felt like to see it and to know. Yeah. What was it like to play it for the first time?
I have a picture here somewhere. I was ear to ear grinning. Like I looked like I was 15 again or something. I was just like, oh my God. And then I, of course, had to figure out how to strap it on the right way because, you know, you can't, it's too tight or too loose or whatever. But it was just like, I kept trying to duck my head, trying to hold it, you know, like a traditional violin. So like some of my early streams, I don't know if it's caught in any of the clips, but my early streams, I kept doing this. And there was nothing there, you know, but yeah, it's my new baby, and you know, it wouldn't have happened without him.
That is cool.
Awesome.
You know, there was an interesting question at the original music panel that came from somebody at TwitchCon, and there wasn't a lot of answers because I don't think anybody that was on the panel was even married. But the person asked, she said, I'm a wife of a streamer or a girlfriend of a streamer. What can spouses or significant others do better to support your channels? How do your spouses, what is the level of their participation? And what are some things that you think that, you know, significant others and spouses could be doing to help? I know it's probably dependent on a lot of factors for each person, but...
Yeah. Well, for me, like, it's a two-way streak, you know? Like, you have to be respectful to what they're doing. And I think if I went home and was like, I'm going to do this, and this, and you need to help me do this, you know, she'd be like, what? You know? Like, not really. But for me, it's without her, like, for the podcast, I forget what day it was. We recorded a couple weeks ago, and we came in on a Saturday, you know, and I was like, you know, it didn't work out. We're going to do this time. And she's like, okay, you know, it's being honest and upfront, you know, about what you want to do and expectations and all that. I think I don't know what she could do differently or better. Honestly, I don't think it can get better. She's amazing. If that makes sense. Like, she's never said, this is a bad idea, what you're doing, or this is not good, or she's been nothing but supportive. So I think if anyone can do something different maybe, or to help a streamer, is just be that supportive. Just, your community helps you and they're supportive too, but there's nothing better than to have the person that's by your side actually be there with you and kind of say, you're doing a great job, keep it up, or they encourage you to do it, So there's never
like
been
kind
a
of
backlash.
keeps a distance more, you would say, like a respectful distance a little bit more.
She
from
watches.
your channel?
Yeah, she's right in there, like watching. The kids watch when they can. And she's interested, like I said in the podcast, she really, she loves hearing about it and discovering it. It's kind of when we first started dating, I was like, oh, you're dating a drummer in a band? Like it was all new to her, like the whole, like what I do for a living. And I'm like, yeah, I got to go to rehearsal like 5 nights a week till like midnight every night when we were dating. And then, we get married and I'm like, okay, I got a show tonight. And then tomorrow I got another show and I have rehearsal. I'll see you on Tuesday. So I think that has prepared for the Twitch thing too. Like I could see if someone's never done it before and then they just hop into it and they're gone a lot. But I think being a musician in general, and that's helped a lot for her understanding of it, because I'm not coming here to the studio and, like drinking a bottle of Jack and, yelling at stuff. It's, she knows that I'm working and stuff, and I treat this like a job. So she understands it's important to me and it is making me happy. It's kind of like the reverse of, everyone tells you on your wedding day, happy wife, happy life. But that's another way too, if a spouse is unhappy, it shows in the family life. So I try to keep her happy, and I think she knows this makes me happy, and that's a big part of the sacrifices, that people make for each other. So
yeah, I think even outside of Twitch, just good relationship advice, especially for married couples, is, celebrate with me when I'm celebrating, cry with me when I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? Just care. Like you don't even have to understand what Twitch is about to do that. If you were in a foreign country where you didn't understand the language at somebody's wedding and you saw everybody start to dance, you would know, well, it's time to dance. I have no idea what the song is, but hey, it's a wedding. Let's all dance. You know what I'm saying? It's like you dance with those who dance and you cry with those who cry. And in a marriage, I think that's especially important. So if you're a spouse of a streamer, and you happen to listen to this, just consider that. If Dan comes home super happy, like, man, tonight was awesome. Even if you don't understand why it was awesome, say, man, that's great. Be excited with him. If he comes home and says, man, it was just a tough day, gosh, I was in a slump, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Same thing, just kind of be there, give a shoulder for a minute and be supportive that way, even if you don't understand the technology and that part of it. So for me personally, my wife is more distanced from it. When I told her I was considering doing it, she's like, what does that even mean? I don't even know what you mean. What is that? What is it? What will it do for you? What will it do for our business? Because I own a social marketing company, and I said, well, first of all, it'd be a great experiment in social marketing, to see if I can cross boundaries out of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and into doing a little more, personal kind of thing. But anyway, so for her, even from the beginning, there just wasn't a whole lot of interest in it because she doesn't get the appeal of it even as much, but she is supportive. She's seen that it's a big part of something, that's important to me, makes me happy. It has provided and helped us cover a couple of unforeseen bills, even at this point that came in. It's like, well, I got it covered, we got it covered because we just had a little extra come in from subscriptions or whatever. So all the way around, that's kind of where things are for me. But I think ultimately just, gosh, dance with somebody who's dancing, cry with somebody who's crying, just be a good spouse, period.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that makes sense. And it's okay to have different things that the other person does. You don't have to share the same interests and have your lives, cross over in all aspects. Sometimes it's nice to have something that's yours,
Yeah.
And I find that even though my husband, even though he's the one who introduced me to Twitch, and after a stream at any given point, he might give me a little rundown of, oh, when you switched over to this category, this happened. Or, yeah, I saw when this happened. I saw your viewership spiked. I saw that Ezekiel the Third was hosting you. Oh, my, and he loves Zeke. Like, so of course that was like he sends me like this emote. We both have Twitch emotes on our phone. I just look down at my phone and he's like, like a champ emote. But you'll never see him speak in my chat. He has never said a word in my chat.
Yeah.
And if my stream is open, he won't be listening to it. He might pop in and check in, but he won't consistently be there. And for me, I love that because I feel like he's keeping like this respectful distance. He's told me that he doesn't want to feel as though, he's like intruding. And I'm like, well, you wouldn't be intruding. He goes, I know, but this is like your thing and your community. Yeah. And I want you to be able to have, something that's for you that, I know you already feel vulnerable enough putting yourself out there. I feel like I can take a step back and that I just want to like let you have that. He celebrates with me. That's cool. And he loves to talk about Twitch with me. Like we talk about Twitch so much because he's so integrated into it, loves it. But yeah, he even said, he goes, I almost said something in your chat the other day because this poor guy kept asking a few times if you had a schedule and none of your moderators said anything or like responded to him like nobody was there like or caught it because the chat was like moving really quickly. He's like, I wanted to, but I'm like, you can do it. That's fine. But it's interesting to hear Hannah's perspective that, you guys know his username and like, is he a moderator? Is he in every stream? How much time does he spend there? And like, how do you guys work together as a team to grow the stream, Hannah?
He has his own emotes. He does. He is a huge part of the stream. In fact, there's people, if he doesn't say something for a stream, if he gets really like, he works from home, but he gets very focused and very busy sometimes and he doesn't say anything and people will be like, hey, where's Kizu Man? Is he there? Is he okay? Or whatever. And they'll ask for him. I think every couple has to find the dynamic that works for them. For us, I love the fact that I can bounce off of him. He'll turn around and say something snarky and I'll say something snarky back and everybody loves it. But, and it's never, ever, ever, ever scripted. It's just, that's the way we are with each other. And people like that. They like seeing that dynamic. And I've seen other streams where, the spouse is involved in some way, shape or form. And it's the same way the communities love it. But then, it's just like what works for each community. And I feel like spouses of streamers should never, ever feel like they're the outsider.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, even if they're like your husband where, not involved directly, not feeling like, you told him, he can always come in and speak up. And I think that's important. Whereas, you get the spouses that do get excluded purposely. And I feel like that's a very big downfall for streamers that do that. Because this is your life partner. This is your thing. Yes, but never purposely exclude your life partner. Mm-hmm. And so for people who are spouses of streamers, I would just say, talk to your spouse, find out, what their preferences are. Tell them your preferences, make sure that both sides are heard and try different things. One of my regular streams that I watch a lot, his wife will come over and just like sit, on his knee or something. And they'll sit there and talk and be real cutesy. And I love it. It's awesome. She doesn't do it every stream, but every now and then she'll come in and they'll all chat with the community and talk. And she's got her own little emote where she has, the heart shaped, and they'll use that when they're showing love to each other, So, I mean, it's just different levels, I think. Jerry Zesian, he's extremely involved in my stream, and I wouldn't have it any other way because that's our personalities. Yeah. And that's our dynamic.
Mm-hmm. It's cool.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. I love it.
For For me, what streaming has done that my wife likes is, before we had kids, she used to come to a lot of shows, or she would be able to come see me perform. Like if I was playing, and you know, like over the years, the kids go to bed and I have to go do a show. Like she's like, I miss seeing you play as much, you know, like, or I'll come here to the studio. She's not able to watch me perform or see me play. So I remember when I first started, one of the coolest things for her, she's like, I can actually like watch you perform. You're like performing. And it's really nice to see you play. She knows I do it every day forever, you know, but she feels that connection like she's at a show or she's watching a concert, you know, a performance.
Really
so
cool.
That is so awesome. And with this podcast now, she gets all, you know, they can be a part of this discussion.
Yeah, I'm
too,
surprised
you
she's
know?
still there. I'm surprised she's not sick of me yet. She's like, oh.
I know. Like when my husband told me that he doesn't, you know, watch that much or whatever, I said, I think that's good and normal because we both work from home. We're both here all day. I'm like, if I were you, I wouldn't want to listen to me talk even more, or you know what I mean? Like I'd be sick of me. Like, and that's not why he's not there, but it is great. It's a nice, it's cool to hear your guys' perspectives. They're also different, and the different levels of, you know, knowledge and support, yet making it work is pretty cool.
It will be interesting though, because we're moving next year. So the studio that I'm going to have is actually going to be in the house. We're adding it. So I am curious to see streaming with, because my boys came to the studio like 2 weeks ago. I put a video up on Twitter and it was just like they just go nuts when they come here. It's like a hurricane comes in and I'm like, oh my gosh.
All my knobs get turned when my kids get in all the knobs and
yeah. So that's going to be a really cool, interesting thing. But yeah, I feel very lucky. Like you said, Hannah, you married up, and I think I married up like 1,000 times. So.
Aw. All the love.
Yeah.
Hi, spouses. Hi, Dan's wife.
Yeah.
Hi, Mrs. Drumstone.
While we're sharing love with those who support us, can we just get a big, huge shout out for all the freaking mods?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh my
seriously, moderators, you guys, we probably don't say thank you enough. All of us have been bailed out by having moderators there to help chat.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
For sure.
And can we keep this love train going and announce that Saving Music Live met their stretch goal of $15,000. For those of you who might not know what it is, I'll just give a quick rundown. Saving Music Live, twitch.tv/Saving Music Live, it is an ongoing charity stream channel now. All proceeds go to the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation, which works to keep music in our public schools by providing instruments and advocating for music programs. And Richie, she actually started this project and got a whole bunch of streamers together to take different shifts throughout the month of December, streaming on the channel for charity. And originally the stretch goal was $10,000. Yeah. And that was for the entire month of December. Well, go figure. The community was able to pull together and raise $10,000 in the weekend, in the launch weekend, at the very beginning of December. So they extended the goal, made it a little bit bigger. And the last time I looked, I forget if it was at 16,000 or what it was at, but the goal has been met. And that's a lot of instruments, you guys. That's fantastic. A lot of instruments. So thank you so much to Richie for all of her hard work and all of the other organizers too, Riao and some other folks. And thank you to the community for coming together and making that happen. The streamers for taking the time out of their day. We know that a lot of us pay our bills with that money, so every stream really can count. But to take that time to pay it forward so that other kids can discover the joy of music through public school programs is such an impact. And for all of those who showed up and tipped as little as $1 or as much as $500, it's amazing. Yeah, you know, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's. I'm so glad that went well. That's such a great charity. I said on when I was doing it, I'm like, think of all these kids that if you don't give them a trumpet, they're going to become lawyers, you know? Or like, like we're saving the world from more lawyers.
I did want to bring up just a quick piece of sort of news or relevancy.
Yep.
There has been some issues with discoverability on the mobile app. If you've ever scrolled down the mobile app in the most popular game section or even through a category and noticed that the viewer count is out of order, in that it's not going from the top with the most viewers, and then lesser viewers. There's actually a setting that is in your mobile app for language. It's a language preference setting. So it's on by default, whatever your language is, and then it sorts the streams by language. So if you're in most popular streams, it's going to support those that are most popular in the US. So for instance, the other night, even though music had 8,000 people in the music category, which is huge, it was number 43 on that most popular list, behind categories that only had like a couple thousand viewers, because those were more popular in the United States. So what does that mean? That means that categories like creative or music, categories that have diverse audiences from other countries and other parts of the world, are automatically getting sorted down even further in discoverability, both within those categories and on the larger browsing selections as well. So that is something that I kind of wanted to bring up for folks to be aware of. That's also hurting discoverability on the creative end. It's in your settings on the app. If you look at it, it's a language setting.
Yeah, under preferences.
Yes, under preferences, it's language matching. So do be aware of that. At some point, we might want to maybe bring that up to Twitch, because it's on by default, and that really sets us back. When music is repping 8,000 people, but it's getting sorted even further down. How are we going to reach those North American viewers or those English speaking viewers?
Yeah, I just turned it off, but they're still kind of jarbled. I don't know how that works.
I think Twitch has some work to do.
Yeah. Or maybe
and
it
I think
has to refresh.
that app needs to be updated a lot. I'm constantly updating that app.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things flesh out. A lot of changes have been rolled out. Sub gifting has also been amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And right now, if you don't know, sub gifting is 20% off, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're wanting to give somebody a sub, do it. Now's the time to do it. Get a little discount and still share some love with the broadcaster as well, without them losing a cut of their part of that income. So now's a good time to do it.
Yeah, and they fixed the raid feature too. So now when Dash raid, people don't join. It's like a host. Everyone will go. Which is
they
really
have
cool.
to intentionally leave, which is fine. If they don't want to go along with the raid, that's fine. But I'm glad they did that too, Dan.
Yeah, that's how it should have been all along. I didn't understand, because you joined, but even if you didn't join, what you typed in the chat was going to be copied over to the other person's chat anyway, right?
Yeah.
So you're already there. It's a good thing that they fixed that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're keeping their eye out for those types of things and creating tools that are based on organic things that occur within the community. Like Twitch didn't start rating, really.
Yeah.
The people in Twitch started doing that, and Twitch just modified to make it easier for them. So kudos to Twitch.
Yeah, for
Good
sure.
stuff.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're extremely busy to talk to us today. Really
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
And congratulations again on partnership.
Yes. Where all can we find you, Hannah? On Twitch, on Twitter, on Instagram? Like where all can we find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter under TVC Twitch. I'm on, of course, Twitch as ThatViolinChick. And I'm on YouTube as ThatViolinChick.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Nice. And again, everyone that's listened so far, this is really cool. This is what episode... I think this is going to be 7. This is 7. Because we're going to have
We have so
Yeah,
many now.
we're prepared.
Yeah.
So
And I'm not sure
awesome.
which order it's in, but we've got a pretty great lineup of folks we're interviewing. You know, we've got I'm not sure if Two Guys One Couch is going to air before this or after this, but being able to talk to Matt and Corey from Two Guys One Couch, and then also Vargan, who is a cellist on Twitch, where we've got him lined up as well. So really exciting guests and really good times ahead.
Good stuff. Keep the questions and suggestions coming through Twitter as well. We love to hear from everybody and see what you want to hear, what questions you have for people that you know are going to be on the show. Be sure to do that too.
Or things you would like to talk or like us to talk about. I can't talk today.
Yes.
But yeah, guys, have a great week and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.